So this next part, it's not asking you to, excuse me one sec. It's not asking you to construct a confidence interval. It is sample size determination. These tend to really bother students. They're going along and they really like the confidence intervals because when you use the calculator, they're pretty easy. So they're going along, and then they get these sample size ones. You have to use the formula. So I'll put here, must use formula. And you think about it, the formula really isn't that bad considering, you know, the prerequisite for this class is Algebra 2 or Math 30. So you can use the formula. You may not like it, but you can use it. So when you look at the formulas, this first formula is when P hat and Q hat are known or given. And the second formula is when P hat and Q hat are unknown. So when you're talking about a proportion, you have two different formulas to choose from. The only difference, here's what I want you to see. See this part right here? When they give you P hat and Q hat, you're going to substitute them in here. When they don't give them to you, you're going to use 0.25. And basically the way they got the 0.25 is they said, well, what if P hat was 0.5 and what if Q hat was 0.5? You'd get 0.25. That's where that number comes from. If you know P hat and Q hat, like let's say one's 0.1, well, the other one would be 0.9. This is 0.09 or 0.3 and 0.7. This would be 0.21. They would always be lower than 0.25. 0.25 is the highest it could end up. And so when you're estimating a sample size, this would estimate it on the higher side when you don't know P hat and Q hat. Okay, so that's the only difference. All right, I'm going to clear some of that part off. And this gives you a big paragraph. So let's see what we have here. It says, as this book was being written, former New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani announced that he was a candidate for the presidency of the United States. If you were a campaign worker and needed to determine the percentage of people that recognized his name. So you're going to do a poll and you want a percentage. So you're trying to determine the percentage of people that recognized his name. And actually, I can take that part out. How many people should you survey to estimate the percentage? Okay. The key part here, how many people? It does not say construct a confidence interval. It says how many people. And it may seem obvious now, but I've taught this a lot and students just want to make a confidence interval. And it doesn't ask for a confidence interval. It says how many people. So you're trying to find the sample size. And you have to use the formula. On the formula packet, it says determining sample size. So now it tells us we want to be 95% confident that the sample percentage was an error by 2 percentage points. And then it says a recent survey told us his name was recognized by 10% of all adults. So that's kind of our important information. So let's write down what we have. The reason they give us the 95% confident is that will give us our critical value for the formula. And the critical value, remember, is Z alpha over 2. Okay, if it's 95%, I'm looking for my formula packet, which is somewhere. Oh, here it is. 95%, if we look that up, we get 1.96. You can look it up, remember, on the table, page 5, down at the bottom. Then, what else do we have? We see the error, which is E, is 2%. Well, anytime you use a percentage, you have to write it as a decimal. So that'll be 0.02. If they give you something that's not a percent, just use what it says. And then this part right here can be kind of tricky. It says, another survey said that 10% recognized 10. So a lot of times they'll give you a sample proportion from another survey or a previous survey said. So that will be our sample proportion from a previous survey. And if we want to get Q hat, remember it's 1 minus P hat. So that would be 0.9. So now we can put all this into our formula. We do know P hat and Q hat, so we're going to use the first formula. So N equals our Z alpha over 2. Our critical value is 1.96 squared. And then P hat is 0.10 or 0.1. Q hat is 0.9. And then our E is 0.02, and then we want to square that. And just be careful with the squaring and be careful with the calculations. So we're going to do 1.96 squared times 0.10 times 0.90, and then divide by that whole thing. I'm just putting it in. Okay. And we come up with 864.36. Again, this is the number of people we're going to survey. How can we survey 864.36 people? A decimal is not going to make sense. Yet, we can't survey less than that number of people, because for our results to be as accurate as we need them, to be 95% confident and to have an error within 2%, we need to survey at minimum that. So what you're going to do on these is you're going to round up, and we're going to make this 865. Because that's the minimum number of people that need to be surveyed. Now, something like this, when I grade it, I am looking for, did you have the right formula? And then I usually look at, did you substitute the values in correctly? Did you get the right answer? Did you round? So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus a point for trying probably. So probably about 10 points. They don't have to be your favorite, but again, it's substituting into a formula and crunching the numbers. '67th, then it would be 1067. I want to say maybe on your homework there's one like that. So it's only if you get a decimal that you have to round up, because you can't survey that number of people. This is the minimum number, so that's why we have to go higher.